Welcome back for the next part of the polygons module. So if you're following along in your notebook, you want to go to tab 2, polygons. And we have already covered the vocabulary, the names of the polygons, and we are up to some formulas here. So this is my favorite part of geometry because I really enjoy algebra and I like working with formulas. But you may need a calculator for this part. We're focusing more on the formulas themselves and where they come from and how to do them than on the very sophisticated math problems. But a calculator is always handy. So have your calculator ready and let's take a look at the perimeter of a square. And I did put these on graph paper for a reason, because I wanted us to be able to visualize as much as possible what's happening in this problem. So first of all, let me give you the definition of perimeter, because I did not do that in the last video. Perimeter, and it's very helpful to look at the origin of the word. Sometimes will help you to figure out what the word means, and this is a really good example. I'm going to take meter and slide it over. So perimeter is made of two parts, peri and meter. Peri means around. If you think about a submarine with a periscope that comes up out of the water and it looks around, it turns around. So peri, anytime you see it, is around. And meter, in this sense, means measure. So when you break this word down and you look at its parts, perimeter, perimeter, perimeter is the measure around a polygon. And you learned in the last video what a polygon is. You cannot find the perimeter of a circle. That's a different thing. Remember, a polygon has at least 3 sides and it's closed. Okay. So we are going to be calculating the measure around closed figures of at least 3 sides. And that sounds very sophisticated and difficult, but hang with me. I think you're going to like this, at least as much as you can like math. I love it. Okay, let's take a look at this shape, this polygon. First of all, let's decide if it is a polygon. Does it have at least 3 sides? Yes, it has 4. And if it helps you to visualize, let's put in the points at the vertices. So there's 1 vertex, 2 vertices, 3 vertices, and 4 vertices. So this is a 4-sided shape. Is it closed? Yes, there are no spaces in it. So it is a closed shape with 4 sides. So it is a polygon. It happens to be a square. And how do I know that it's a square? Well, we can count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to say that this is 6 units. And let me take these out. And I won't draw those in, but you can count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units. Count the bottom. 6 units. I truly believe that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Anytime you can see a picture in this course, it's going to help you. And you may be thinking, why is she not using inches or feet or miles? Because I don't know. All I can tell you is that these are these little boxes. So I could say boxes instead of units, but I like units for math. So this particular polygon is a square. It's a quadrilateral, it's four-sided, and it's a square. So the question is, how would we find the distance around the square? And this is kind of obvious, I know. You would just count. You could literally just count the boxes if you were walking around the outside. If you've been in the military, you may have been asked to walk a perimeter, which means that you follow the same shape over and over until your commanding officer tells you to stop. You're walking a perimeter. So if we walked this perimeter, it would take 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6. That is one trip around the perimeter. So the perimeter of this square is 24 units. I could add that up on my fingers or on a calculator. But my job is to teach you the formula that goes with this perimeter. And this is what it looks like. Capital P means perimeter. P equals 4S. So let's think about this for just a minute and see if we can figure out what this is saying in algebra language. You're looking at algebra right there. Capital P means perimeter, or the distance around. 4 is a constant, it's a number, but side could be anything. It could refer to any square. So here's how we solve this formula. We would say P equals 4, and I want you to put a pocket, a parenthesis, pocket for the letter S, because we have to look at our problem to get the letter S. And in our case, it's 6. 6 units on a side. And then this formula is saying P equals 4 times 6. So using your calculator, or however you want to do it, the perimeter of this particular square is 24 units. And you may be thinking, why is she making me do this? I can look at that and know that that's 24. What's the point of going through all of this stuff? And the simple answer to that is because we have to know the algebra. The high-set exam is not going to be an exam that you can just guess at or look at. You're going to have to know the math that goes with it. So I'm trying to teach you the math, the algebra that goes with this skill. And sometimes it helps to see the algebra with an example that you really don't need the algebra to do. You can see the answer, but you can also see in the algebra how I'm getting the answer. When we get to trapezoids and cones and cylinders, you won't be able to just look at it. So we have to know how to set these up using math. Okay, this is the simplest one that you will ever have to do. So let's take it up another little notch here to the perimeter of a rectangle. As the shape changes, the formula will change. And as the shape gets harder, the formula will get harder. Okay, we know that a rectangle is a little different than a square, because we know that a rectangle has a long side that we call length, and it has 2 of those. So let's go ahead and count this up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the length of this thing is 12. And if that side's 12, this one has to be, because they're the same. 12 units long. And it would be nice if the whole world were written on this nice paper. And then we could just count boxes. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Okay, so let's do the width. I'm going to use that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the width. So the wide side of the picture is 5 units. And if this side is 5, what can you tell me about this side? It's going to be 5 also. So length is 12, width is 5. And here's the formula. I'm trying to keep this all in frame, but it's not working too well. Okay, the perimeter of a rectangle looks like this. And so let's dissect the formula. This is called parsing, and you'll see more of that later. So perimeter is capital P. 2 times length, and I use a cursive L so I don't mistake that for a 1, and 2 times the width, because we have 2 longs and 2 wides. So to do this properly using algebra, we're going to say everywhere I see a letter, except the perimeter, because that's what I'm looking for. I don't know perimeter, but I know L and W. If I look at my picture, the L, the length, is 12. So you put that in the L pocket. And the W is 5, so you put that in the W pocket. Length and width. Let me back off there so you can see. Length is 12, width is 5. Sometimes on a math test, this will be the answer right there. They will stop with the setup where you don't even have to solve the problem. If you do have to solve it, this is what you have to do. 2 times 12 on your calculator, and 2 times 5 on your calculator, and then add those together. And so your perimeter for this particular shape is 34 units. That's a little more complicated than that first one that we did. Okay, what if they want us to look at the area of a rectangle? And let me tell you what area is. It's different than perimeter. Perimeter is the distance around. Area is the number of square units, literally squares, little tiny squares, inside a closed space. And if you've ever put carpet in your house or tile, anything that's in the shape of squares, you've probably worked with area. You're looking at the number of squares inside. Area is an inside measure. Perimeter is an outside measure. So area and perimeter are 2 entirely different things. Okay, let's take a look at this rectangle and see if we can figure out how to do area. All right, the first thing I want you to notice is that area deals with squares. There's 1 square, 2 squares. Sorry, that didn't work out so well. There's another square. So how many squares long is this shape? And let me see if I can get this. This might work fine. Nope. Let's go up one. I'm trying to highlight this top row. So we have 12 squares, and if we were actually laying carpet or tile, it would take 12 squares to finish. Let me label them for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's a row of 12. 12 squares this way. Okay. And then we have how many squares the other way? Remember, I'm inside the shape this time, not the perimeter. We're actually inside the shape. So there's 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 5 squares this way. And we want to know how many squares it's going to take to fill up this inside space. So how many squares would it take to finish filling in the inside? So here's the formula for the area of a rectangle. This will also work for a square. Area is length times width. So now it's not the capital P. We've switched to the inside. That's area. And this is length and width. So when you set this formula up, you've got A equals parentheses, parentheses. So there's multiplying. And we have a rectangle that's 12 long and 5 wide. So area is 12 times 5, or 60 squares. So if this is carpet, and each square is a piece of carpet, I'm going to need 60 of those to fill in this space. And just to prove that to you, you're going to think I'm crazy, and I'm only going to do this once. But let's see if this proves to be true. We've already got 12. So 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So I'm a little less than halfway there. What would half of 60 be? Half of 60 is 30. So if I were putting carpet down, I would be halfway done with this job. But let me keep going. I'm coming up to 60% done, or 3/5 of the way. The next milestone will be 80%, which is well over half. Remember, 30 was the halfway point, and I'm getting there. Here's 80%, or 4/5, and here's the last row of carpet. So if I'm working on this job and I'm laying these down there in sections, I'm not sure how that would look because there would be a bunch of seams, but you can tell I don't lay carpet. And here we go. How many squares are we going to have? There are 60 squares in this rectangle. So you can see that I really don't want to have to label all those squares every time. The formula is much faster to get the answer for me. Formulas are your friends. Don't be afraid of them. You have to learn how to use them, but once you know, It saves you from having to do a lot of work like we did here. So go ahead and compare these two rectangles. This top one we did the perimeter, the distance around the outside, and then on this bottom one we did the area, which is the inside dimension of the rectangle. It's the same rectangle, just that one of them we found the perimeter and then one of them we found the area. Okay, let me look ahead. What if you have a missing side? So let's take a look at this top problem. I'm trying to zero in just on that, but let's see what we can do. It says the perimeter of this rectangle is 30 units. So they found the perimeter for me, and they want me to find the length. And this is where we have to rely on algebra. And let me go ahead and shrink this just a little bit so I can have space to write. So there's the problem. So we want to start with the perimeter of a rectangle. And they're telling me kind of a hint on what to do because they're telling me the formula that I need to write down. And it's perimeter of a rectangle. So that formula is P equals 2L plus 2W. Perimeter equals 2 of the long sides plus 2 of the short sides. And they tell me that 30 is the perimeter. So I'm going to put that in for perimeter. So we know that 2L plus 2W, and I should have given you this one. We can actually count the width here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the width. So 5 is the width of this rectangle. So 30 equals 2 of the L's plus 10. And this is where you really need to have the algebra course to truly understand what's going on here. But we need to subtract our 10 from both sides. And those of you who have had the algebra course, this should be very familiar. If you haven't had it, I strongly recommend that you take it. So 30 minus 10 is 20, and that's 2 of the long sides. So we divide by 2, and we get L equals 10. And you may be thinking, okay, this lady's crazy, because all I have to do is look at that picture and count the squares. I know that. Okay, let me show you what I'm talking about. So we think the length is 10. Let's see. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sure enough, it turns out to be the length is 10, and the width we found for ourselves was 5. So I understand that you might be thinking I'm crazy. Here's the thing though. On the test, you're not going to have the picture to look at. You might have a rectangle, but it won't be marked off with squares. So you're going to be looking at a rectangle on a white piece of paper. You have to know the math that is necessary to find that missing unit. And that's where algebra comes into play. Again, if you have had the algebra course, this should not be a problem. If you have not had the algebra course, it may be a problem. So you might want to take that course too. But this is where algebra and geometry come together, and that's going to happen often. So you really need to know both of them. Okay, here's another one. And this one says the area of this rectangle is 32 square units. What is its width? And again, you may be thinking, I can look at that and count. I don't need to go through all this, but you won't be able to do that on an exam. So let's first take a look at our rectangle. Now, I can tell you just by counting that the width here is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the length, and guys, remember you can switch those. Some teachers would tell you that this is the width, but to me the longer side is the length. It doesn't matter though. But the length is 8 units. So we can look at this picture and know the answer. But here is the question. And sometimes you won't even have a picture. Sometimes you just have the word problem, which is, for me, difficult. I like to see a picture, so I try to draw myself a picture. But it says the area is 32, and that's the formula that I need. It also tells me the shape that I'm dealing with. So the formula is the area formula that we did a minute ago, where we have length times width. And they tell me that area is 32. And we found the length by counting. Length is 8. We also found the width, but we're not going to say anything about that just yet. So to do this one, you need to divide both sides by 8. This is where your algebra comes in. And so width is 4. Using the algebra method, we confirm what we already knew, that the width is 4. Just remember that you could be given this problem like that, where you have to, they would have to tell you the length, but you may not even see a picture. So don't come to rely only on the picture. Okay, I threw in some skill builder problems, and I would encourage you to stop the video at this point and try these problems. See if you can find the perimeter and the area, and then come back and turn the video back on and see if you got the problems right. So if you want to pause your video and try these, this is a good time to pause. Okay, to solve these, the first thing I need to do is to get my dimensions. Now on the test, you're going to be given the dimensions. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So the length is 10 units. The width is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. So the first thing we need to know is this information. On a test, you will be given the information. Here, I'm asking you to count for yourself because I'm trying to reinforce what's going on here. Okay, the perimeter of a rectangle is P equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. So perimeter is 2 times the long side plus 2 times the wide side. And so I need to do my multiplying. That's 20 and that's 10. So the perimeter of this rectangle is 30 units. The area of a rectangle is length times width. So the area is 2 pockets, long side 10, wide side 5. A equals 10 times 5, which is 50 square. Because remember, this is the inside. How many of those little squares does it take to fill the frame? 50 square units. Okay, the other rectangle, which is this one, And I need to first of all calculate the dimensions. On the test they'll give them to me, but here I need to know that width is 2, 1, 2, and the longer side is 9, so L is 9 units. Width is 2 units. Now, if we knew inches or feet, whatever, we would use that instead of the word units, but we don't. So, okay, let's do perimeter first. Doesn't matter. We just have to find both. So 2L plus 2W. The long side is 9, and the wide side is 2. So do your multiplying first. 2 times 9 is 18, and 2 times 2 is 4. And then the last step is 22 when you add those. 22 units. Okay. And then your area is LW. A equals pocket times pocket. Length is 9. Width is 2. 2 times 9 is 18 square units. So hopefully you got these two right. This is sort of a little mini quiz at the end of this lesson. If you did not get those right, you are welcome to give me a call and I'll help you as best I can. Or you might want to just watch the videos again and see. Sometimes seeing it more than once will help. Okay, this is the end of the unit on area and perimeter of rectangles. I'm going to stop the video before we progress because it's getting very long. And we'll look at triangles in the next one. So I'll see you soon.